The stars stretched endlessly across the dark canvas of space, each one burning with a light that traveled thousands, sometimes millions of years before it reached the eyes of anyone who cared to look. For most of the galaxy, these lights were simply part of the background, silent witnesses to the rise and fall of countless civilizations. But for humanity, the stars were invitations, open doors waiting to be stepped through. Humanity had not rushed into the galaxy like many other species had. Instead, they had moved carefully, one step at a time, always watching, always learning. Their ships were smaller at first, limited to colonies close to Earth. As decades passed, technology improved, and they began to expand further. Still, they never broadcasted their progress. Where other species announced themselves loudly, boasting of their fleets and wealth, humanity remained quiet. This silence made the galaxy believe Earth was still weak, a minor species crawling along its first interstellar paths. The powerful empires of the galaxy, with their long histories, considered humans as harmless newcomers. They spoke of them as if they were children who had just learned to walk. But this belief was built on ignorance. Humanity had worked in silence for a reason. Behind the curtain of their caution, they built something extraordinary. The Aegis Eternal, humanity's Titan-class warship, was proof of that. The ship was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was enormous, stretching across kilometers of armored hull. Entire cities could have been built inside it. The ship's design was not decorative or needlessly complex. Instead, it was efficient, every line and curve serving a purpose. It was made for strength, endurance, and survival in the harshness of space. And yet, it carried not only weapons but also advanced medical bays, living quarters, research labs, and vast stores of supplies. The Aegis Eternal was not only a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's determination to protect itself, to survive, and to be respected in a galaxy where respect was often given only to the strong. While Earth's people lived their lives unaware of how close they were to galactic politics, the crew of the Aegis Eternal prepared for their journey near the Orion Verge, a distant and quiet part of space. Captain Elias Reese stood at the central command deck, his eyes fixed on the glowing display of star maps. He was a man shaped by discipline, his voice calm but steady with authority. Around him, officers worked with quiet efficiency, every hand and every mind dedicated to their duty. "This is where we'll make contact," Elias said softly. The Orion Verge was not chosen at random. For years, signals had been detected here, patterns of communication, flashes of energy that suggested activity. Humanity's intelligence division suspected the Verge was close to territories claimed by the Zyreth Dominion, one of the oldest and most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. The Dominion was known for its pride, for its belief that it was the rightful ruler of the stars. They had not yet taken notice of humanity, at least not directly, but that would change today. The Aegis Eternal drifted into the sector with the grace of a giant that knew its strength. Sensors lit up across the command deck as alien signatures came into range. Ships, many of them. A Zyrath patrol fleet had been stationed nearby, watching over trade routes and ensuring their authority was respected. The alien fleet immediately noticed the newcomer. Their sensors scanned the human vessel, and confusion spread through their ranks. To the Zyrath, who had seen countless ships in their long history, this one was different. It was larger, heavier, and more advanced than anything they had expected from a species they thought was still young. On board the lead Zirath cruiser, Admiral Kurzal studied the readings with narrowed eyes. His people had long viewed themselves as masters of the galaxy, and their pride had never been seriously challenged in centuries. When his sensors reported the size and power of the human ship, he assumed it must be a mistake. "Impossible," Kurzal hissed, his voice low and sharp. "These humans, they were supposed to be insignificant." He ordered repeated scans, but everyone confirmed the same result. The massive warship before him was real. Meanwhile, on the Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias remained calm. He knew the importance of this moment. This was humanity's first true meeting with one of the galaxy's powers. Every action, every word would shape how the galaxy saw them. "Open communication channels," Elias instructed. His officers obeyed. Moments later, a screen filled with the image of Admiral Kurzal, his reptilian features twisting with disbelief. The Admiral spoke first, his tone filled with arrogance. "Humans, you stand in Zirath space. Identify yourselves and explain why a ship such as yours exists." Elias stood tall, his posture calm and unwavering. "I am Captain Elias Reese of the Aegis Eternal, representing the United Earth Directorate. We come in peace, but we will not kneel." Those words were chosen carefully. They were firm, respectful, but carried a quiet strength. The crew around Elias felt a wave of pride. This was not just a greeting. It was a declaration that humanity would not be treated as weak or unworthy. The Admiral sneered. "Peace with a warship of that size? Do not insult us. You cannot expect us to believe you are harmless while bringing such a monster into our territory." Elias did not flinch. "The Aegis Eternal is not built to invade, but to protect. Humanity values peace. But peace without strength is fragile. We choose not to be fragile." The exchange was broadcast beyond the verge. The galaxy watched. Traders, spies, and wandering vessels tuned into the signals, their data relays spreading the words to far-off corners. For the first time, the galaxy truly heard the human voice, and it was not the voice of weakness. On distant worlds, aliens of many species whispered in surprise. Was this the same humanity that was often dismissed in council chambers as a minor species? Could they truly have built such a vessel? If this was only one ship, how many more existed in the darkness of space waiting? The Aegis Eternal stood like a silent mountain against the fleet of the Zerath Dominion. Neither side moved, the space between them heavy with tension. For humanity, this was the beginning of something new. The quiet expansion, the years of patience had led to this moment. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy not with loud words or reckless aggression, but with strength wrapped in silence. And now the silence had been broken. The stars above the Orion verge bore witness as humanity revealed its first secret. And across the galaxy, empires began to wonder if they had underestimated the species that had come from Earth. The age of ignoring humanity was ending. The Orion verge was quiet, yet the silence felt heavy. On one side of the starlit void floated the proud fleet of the Zerath Dominion, an empire that believed it had ruled the stars unchallenged for centuries. On the other side stood a single ship, the human Titan-class warship, Aegis Eternal. To the casual eye, it might have seemed unbalanced. Dozens of alien cruisers, frigates and carriers against only one vessel, but anyone who looked closer realized the truth. The Aegis Eternal was massive, so large that it made even the Zerath's largest dreadnoughts look small. Its armored surface shimmered with hidden energy barriers, and its weapon arrays glowed faintly as though reminding everyone of their presence. Inside the human ship, Captain Elias Reese remained calm. His officers were tense but steady, their eyes moving between data screens and holographic projections. Every system was active. Every sensor was watching. Every shield was prepared. Elias knew that this encounter was not just between two fleets. This was a meeting between humanity and the galaxy itself. "We are being measured," Elias said quietly to his second-in-command, Commander Lyra Holt. "They want to see if we are giants or insects." Commander Holt, sharp-eyed and steady in her duty, gave a faint nod. "Then let us show them what humanity truly is." On the Zerath flagship, Admiral Kurzal studied the human ship with growing unease. Pride filled his heart as it always did, but pride was now mixed with something unfamiliar. Doubt. His people had fought countless battles, defeating rivals and crushing rebellions with ease. But never before had he seen such a ship appear out of nowhere. Reports flooded his screen. Energy readings were off the charts. Weapon systems were advanced, though most remained hidden. The hull was built of materials unknown to Zerath science, resisting every deep scan. The more he studied it, the more the ship seemed less like a vessel and more like a fortress drifting among the stars. "This is not possible," Kurzal muttered. "Humans should not be capable of this." His officers looked uneasy, but none dared question him. Instead, they awaited his decision. For the galaxy beyond, the event was already becoming legendary. Dozens of minor ships had picked up the signals and were transmitting the encounter live across the stars. Merchants, diplomats, and mercenaries in faraway systems watched as a species they had dismissed revealed a power no one expected. Back on Earth, hidden command centers were already aware. The Directorate had prepared for this moment for years. They knew the galaxy would eventually discover their true strength, and they had chosen the Aegis Eternal as the one to reveal it. Captain Elias understood this better than anyone. He knew the ship's size and strength were not meant only for defense but also for message. Humanity was saying, We exist and we will not be broken. The first exchange of words had already shaken the galaxy. Now came the next stage, the test. Admiral Kurzal leaned forward, his claws tapping against the control rail. "We will test them," he ordered. "A controlled strike. Nothing more. Let us see if this Titan of theirs is as strong as it appears." His fleet moved into formation. Energy beams powered up, missiles aligned, and engines burned brighter as ships began circling the human warship. The sky around the Aegis Eternal filled with signals of incoming fire. On the human command deck, alarms sounded softly, not in panic but as warnings. Officers reported in steady voices. Multiple lock-ons detected. Enemy weapons charging. Shields ready at full capacity. Elias raised a hand. "Do not fire unless I give the order." "Hold position," the crew obeyed. Even as the alien fleet surrounded them, the Aegis Eternal did not move. It floated like a mountain, unmoved by wind or storm. Then the attack began. The Xyrith fleet unleashed a barrage of energy beams and plasma rounds, their weapons cutting through the darkness of space in brilliant streaks of light. Missiles streaked forward, exploding against the human ship's shields. For a moment the void glowed with fire and fury, but when the light faded, the Aegis Eternal still stood unharmed. Its shield shimmered like a calm ocean surface after a stone had been thrown into it. No damage registered. On the human bridge, officers reported with calm precision. Shields at 98% capacity. All systems stable. Elias gave a single nod. "Maintain position. Do not retaliate unless they escalate." The Xyrath fleet fell silent in shock. Their strongest weapons had been shrugged off as though they were pebbles striking a wall. Admiral Kurzal's pride twisted into frustration. His officers whispered nervously, their confidence slipping. "Admiral," one officer said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider." Kurzal slammed his claw down. "No, they are mocking us. They think us weak. Prepare the second wave." And yet, even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Across the galaxy, the broadcast reached billions. Species who had never cared for humans now leaned closer to their screens. They saw a single human ship hold against one of the galaxy's strongest fleets. They saw discipline, patience, and restraint where others would have already fired back. And they began to wonder, if humanity can build one ship like this, how many more exist? On board the Aegis Eternal, the crew continued to hold. Commander Holt spoke quietly to Elias. "They are pushing harder. If we do not respond, they may mistake patience for weakness." Elias considered her words. He knew that showing strength was as important as showing restraint. A message of peace must be paired with the reality of power, or else it would not be respected. "Target their lead cruiser," Elias ordered at last. "One shot only, controlled. Let them know we are not fragile." The weapons officer obeyed. Energy charged along the spine of the Titan. A single pulse of light erupted from the Aegis Eternal, striking the Xyrath cruiser dead center. Shields flared, armor cracked, and the alien ship was thrown back by the force. Its systems went offline, but it was not destroyed. Silence filled the void. The humans had answered, but with precision and restraint. They had not destroyed. They had only reminded. On the Xyrath flagship, Admiral Kurzal felt the weight of the message. Humanity could have destroyed his fleet with ease, but they chose not to. His pride battled with his logic, but even pride could not deny what his eyes saw. Captain Elias's voice echoed across the communication channels. "We have no wish to destroy you. But understand this, we will not kneel. Humanity seeks peace, but we will never be helpless." Those words traveled across the stars, replayed in countless languages, carried on merchant vessels and military channels alike. Entire worlds paused to hear them. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy felt something it had long forgotten: uncertainty. The Dominion's ships withdrew slowly, their formation breaking as confusion spread among their ranks. No more shots were fired. The test was over. Humanity had passed, and so, in the endless silence of space, the measure of giants had been taken. Humanity was no insect to be crushed underfoot. Humanity was something greater, something unexpected. Across the galaxy, empires began to whisper and wonder. What else had humanity been hiding? The stars listened, and the galaxy held its breath. The battle that had not become a battle was already echoing across the galaxy. Traders carried the story. Scouts repeated it. Data relays replayed the images. a human Titan-class warship standing unshaken against a proud Zerath fleet. A single measured strike from the Aegis Eternal had disabled their lead cruiser without destroying it. To many, it was not only a demonstration of strength but also of control. For centuries, the Zerath Dominion had been feared. Their name alone made smaller civilizations bow their heads. But after the encounter at the Orion Verge, whispers grew louder in every star system. The whispers asked, if the Zerath cannot crush the humans, then who truly rules the stars? On board the Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Reese understood the importance of what had just happened. He knew their actions were no longer private. Every signal, every word, every decision was being studied by powers across the galaxy. Reports confirm widespread transmission, Commander Lyra Holt said, handing Elias a data slate. The entire sector has seen what we did, and the Council on Earth has already responded. They commend our restraint, Elias read the summary silently. Humanity had revealed itself in one bold moment. The age of hiding in the shadows was gone. Restraint, he murmured. It may impress some, but to others it will be seen as weakness. Lyra nodded. The Zerath are not finished. Their pride will not let them walk away. She was right. The Dominion responds on the Zerath homeworld. The council chambers of the Dominion were filled with tension. Holoscreens displayed the encounter, showing the human ship standing like a mountain while Dominion firepower failed. The counselors hissed and growled in anger. This is an insult to our honor, one shouted. They are a young species. They should not have this power, another cried. Admiral Kurzal stood before them, his head lowered slightly. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of shame. He had not been defeated, but neither had he triumphed. The humans had matched him, and worse, the entire galaxy had seen it. The High Chancellor of the Dominion leaned forward, his voice sharp. Admiral, you were meant to test them. Instead, you allowed them to humiliate us before the galaxy. Explain yourself, Kurzal's claws tapped against the floor. Their ship, it is unlike anything I have faced. Their shields absorbed everything. Their weapons are precise. I do not believe this is their only vessel. The Council hissed at the thought. If humanity had more Titans, then the balance of power could shift in ways none of them wanted. Then we cannot allow them to spread, the Chancellor declared. We must remind the galaxy that the Dominion is supreme, and so the order was given. The humans would face a larger fleet. Not just a test this time, but a demonstration. The waiting storm back at the Orion Verge, the Aegis Eternal held its position, watching the retreating Dominion fleet. For hours, the void was silent except for the faint hum of engines and the chatter of officers reporting status updates. Finally, Lieutenant Aaron, the ship's young communications officer, looked up. Captain, long-range sensors detect additional warp signatures. Multiple ships. No, dozens of ships inbound. The bridge fell silent. The Dominion was returning, and this time they were bringing their strength. Elias stood straight, his face calm, though his heart was heavy. He knew this would happen. Pride would not let the Zerath leave things unfinished. Raise shields to full, he ordered. Battle readiness across all decks. The officers obeyed quickly. Crew members moved with practiced precision, securing stations, activating defense protocols, and preparing the Titan for what was to come. But Elias also knew one thing. Their mission was not to destroy. Their mission was to show humanity's will. The clash begins. The new Zerath fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm. Cruisers, carriers, and dreadnoughts filled the void, their weapons already glowing with power. At their center was a colossal warship, the Bloodfang, the pride of the Dominion Navy. Admiral Kurzal's voice thundered across the comms. Humans, you dare to humiliate us before the galaxy. Now you will see the strength of the Dominion. On the human bridge, Elias answered with a calm voice. We do not seek to humiliate. We seek only peace. But if you force us, we will defend ourselves. The Admiral laughed, though it was edged with fury. Then defend yourselves if you can. The fleet opened fire. The void lit up with a storm of weapons. Energy lances, plasma bursts, and missile volleys slammed into the Aegis Eternal's shields. The Titan's surface glowed with radiant energy as the protective fields absorbed the storm. Explosions bloomed harmlessly against its defenses, but the onslaught was relentless. Inside the ship, the crew reported with discipline. Shields holding at 89%. No breaches detected. All systems stable. Elias gave a single nod. Return fire. Target engines, not hulls. Show them our strength without destruction, the Titan answered. From its vast weapon arrays, beams of focused energy and magnetic rail shots streaked through the darkness. The human fire was not wild, but precise. One by one, Xyrath ships staggered as their engines were crippled, their weapons disabled, or their shields shattered. The Dominion fleet found itself overwhelmed not by brute force alone, but by accuracy, control, and strategy. The galaxy watches, the battle was no longer private. Countless eyes across the galaxy watched the clash unfold. On distant worlds, in trading hubs, and even in secret military outposts, alien species leaned closer to their screens. They saw humanity not only stand against the Dominion but do so with restraint. The humans had the power to destroy, yet they chose instead to disable. It was a message far louder than any words. We are strong, but we are not reckless. For the first time, some species felt hope. Perhaps this new power would bring balance to the galaxy. Others felt fear. A hidden species that had risen quietly could not be trusted. Whispers turned into arguments, and arguments into plans. Alliances shifted and suspicion spread. The turning point. The Bloodfang pushed forward, its massive guns charging. It was the Dominion's strongest ship, meant to end battles by its presence alone. Admiral Kurzal ordered all power to its weapons. The Titan's sensors lit up with warnings. The energy spike was enormous. Commander Holt's voice was steady but urgent. "Captain, that shot could cripple us if it breaks through." Elias's gaze remained fixed on the display. "Then we cannot allow it to fire. Target their main cannon. All batteries coordinate." The Aegis Eternal unleashed a synchronized barrage. Dozens of beams and kinetic strikes converged on the Bloodfang's weapon array. The result was immediate. An explosion lit up the void as the Dominion's strongest cannon was torn apart before it could fire. The Bloodfang staggered, its system sparking, its power faltering. On the bridge of the Dominion flagship, Kurzal stared at the flames spreading across his screens. His pride was shattered. "Impossible," he whispered. "How can they?" His officers looked at him with fear. They knew what the galaxy would see. The Dominion's pride struck down in front of billions. A voice of strength Elias took the comm again, his voice carrying across the field and beyond. "This is humanity's answer. We will not be bullied. We will not kneel. But we will not destroy unless forced. Remember this, Dominion. We are not your enemy unless you make us one." The words spread like fire across the stars. They were repeated in countless languages, broadcast to worlds far and near. To some they were inspiring. To others they were terrifying. The Xyrath fleet began to withdraw, dragging their damaged ships with them. The battle was over. On the Aegis Eternal, the crew breathed out in relief. The Titan still stood strong, its shields battered but intact. Humanity had faced its first galactic test and emerged victorious. Aftermath in the quiet that followed, Elias stood at the command deck, staring into the endless stars. He knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would not forget this day, and neither would the galaxy. Humanity had announced itself and the universe was listening. Commander Holt stood beside him. "We have shown them who we are," she said softly. Elias nodded. "Yes, but the hardest part is still ahead. Now they will decide what to do with the truth." And in the silence of space, the Titan-class warship drifted forward, a symbol of strength and resolve. The clash of wills was over, but the true struggle for humanity's place among the stars was only beginning. The Orion Verge was quiet again, but the silence now carried a different weight. It was no longer just the calm after a minor skirmish. It was the silence of a galaxy reconsidering everything it thought it knew. Humanity had revealed its strength, not through brute destruction but through disciplined power, restraint, and precise control. The ripple of that revelation traveled faster than any fleet could move, reaching worlds far beyond the Verge. On distant planets, alien species paused in the middle of their routines to watch broadcasts of the Aegis Eternal and the Xyrath fleet. From massive galactic capitals to tiny trade outposts, all eyes turned to humanity. Some saw a dangerous new rival. Others saw a species to be admired. Every race asked the same question. How could humans, a species once dismissed as weak and backward, build a warship capable of standing against one of the galaxy's oldest and proudest empires? Even in the Dominion, whispers of disbelief grew. The council chambers buzzed with uncertainty. Admiral Kurzal, though furious, could not deny what he had seen. His officers, once confident and arrogant, now spoke in cautious tones. They had underestimated humanity, and in the galaxy, underestimation could be fatal. The spread of rumors across trade networks and communication relays, stories of the Titan-class warship spread. Traders embellished the tales slightly, adding grandeur, yet none could exaggerate the raw facts. One human ship had faced a fleet and survived. News outlets from various alien systems dissected every frame of the encounter, analyzing the ship's weaponry, shields, and strategy. Some species whispered about humans in hushed tones, comparing them to long-forgotten legends. They are like the giants of the old galaxies, one scholar said, a species that hides in silence only to rise when it is ready. Others debated more pragmatically. If this is one ship, how many more do they have? A military analyst asked. The Aegis Eternal cannot be alone. Humanity has been hiding in the shadows, but now their shadow looms large over us all. The galaxy, for centuries accustomed to hierarchy, order, and predictable power, felt unease ripple through its structures. Systems that once ignored humanity began reconsidering alliances. Political factions argued over whether to approach Earth for diplomacy or whether to prepare for war. Humanity's calm response. Meanwhile, the Aegis Eternal had returned to Earth's nearby systems. Its engines hummed softly as it drifted through space, carrying the human crew who had just faced one of the galaxy's most formidable empires. Captain Elias Reese moved along the bridge, observing his crew. Despite the stress of battle, their discipline had never wavered. Every officer and crew member had performed flawlessly. Commander Lyra Holt approached Elias. Captain, the Council wishes to send an official message to the galaxy. They want to clarify humanity's intentions, Elias nodded. Do it carefully. The galaxy must understand who we are without fear, without arrogance. They must see strength paired with wisdom. The message was simple but powerful. Humanity seeks peace. Humanity will not kneel. We are ready to defend but not to conquer. The galaxy is vast, and there is space for all who respect life. It was broadcast through multiple channels, translated into countless alien dialects, and delivered in a tone of authority and calm. Across the stars, civilizations stopped to listen. Some felt relief, others felt awe, and some began to fear. Shifting alliances, not all reactions were favorable. Certain empires, seeing humanity's restraint as a sign of mercy, attempted to approach Earth with caution. Diplomatic envoys were sent, offering treaties and alliances. Some sought protection under human strength, while others hoped to study and replicate human technology. Other species plotted differently. They saw potential rivals and threats, not partners. Spies and saboteurs began moving quietly, searching for weaknesses, trying to uncover secrets that humanity had kept hidden for decades. Even the Zyrath Dominion faced internal strife. The Council argued endlessly about how to respond. Some demanded retaliation, a show of force to remind the galaxy that the Dominion's pride remained unbroken. Others suggested caution, proposing negotiations and respect for the humans' discipline. Admiral Kurzal, silent for long moments, realized the truth. Humanity's display had already changed the galaxy. No retaliation could erase the fact that humans had proven themselves. They had altered perception with restraint and skill, and perception in the galaxy could be more powerful than fleets. Hidden strengths revealed. The Aegis Eternal was only the beginning. Earth's hidden networks of Titan-class shipyards, research stations, and advanced colonies began to be revealed to select allies. The humans had built more than one Titan. There were dozens scattered across nearby systems, each a fortress of strategic strength. These ships had never been deployed together. They were not meant for conquest but for protection. Humanity's philosophy was simple. Power alone was meaningless without purpose. And their purpose was survival, not dominance. Captain Elias knew that showing even one Titan had already shifted the balance of fear and respect across the galaxy. If more were revealed, the galaxy would realize that humanity's silence had been deliberate, and their patience unmatched. The galactic conversation, at first, the galaxy spoke in whispers. Traders, diplomats, and scientists debated humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy. Then came the open discussions. Councils formed, debates ignited, and treaties were reconsidered. Humanity, previously unknown to most of the galaxy, had become a focal point of conversation. Some empires sought alliances, offering technology, resources, and knowledge in exchange for human protection or collaboration. Others plotted in secret, viewing humans as a challenge to their supremacy. And through it all, humanity remained calm. Earth sent ambassadors carefully, ensuring that every gesture conveyed strength and wisdom simultaneously. They had no desire to dominate. Their goal was simple: respect and survival. The turning point, one of the most significant moments, came when the Dominion itself sent a delegation to meet humanity. Not through force, but through words. Their ships arrived at the edge of human-controlled space, shields raised but weapons lowered. Captain Elias met the delegation personally aboard the Aegis Eternal. The alien leaders were proud, wary, and cautious. They demanded answers. Humanity, in turn, offered clarity. They showed maps of colonies, detailed how their ships operated, and explained the purpose of their Titan-class fleet. The message was consistent. Humanity is strong, prepared, and peaceful. Misjudgment will not be tolerated. For the first time, the Dominion saw a human philosophy in action. Strength paired with restraint, discipline matched with vision, and patience balanced by readiness. It was a revelation. A new balance across the galaxy. The perception of humanity shifted. Species that had once dismissed humans as weak now reconsidered their calculations. Traders no longer assumed human systems were minor markets. Military analysts revised their threat assessments. Diplomats approached with care, knowing that a misstep could invite disaster. And humans continued to expand. Not with aggression, but with calm efficiency. Colonies grew, ships were built, knowledge spread. Humanity did not shout. They acted, and in doing so they inspired, intimidated, and influenced the galaxy simultaneously. The Aegis Eternal had become a symbol, a monument to human resilience and wisdom. And even as the galaxy buzzed with speculation, Elias knew that the true work was only beginning. Humans had revealed strength, but strength alone could not secure respect. The galaxy had to see the balance, the discipline, and the will that came with it, the stage for the future. As the Orion Verge settled into quiet once more, humanity's influence grew subtly but unmistakably. Plans were laid for further exploration, diplomacy, and defense. Titan-class ships would patrol critical sectors. New colonies would rise, and hidden research stations would continue advancing human technology. The galaxy watched, cautious and curious. Some feared what humanity could become. Others wondered what lessons could be learned from this young species that had silently risen to the edge of the stars. And throughout it all, the humans remained calm, patient, and unshaken. They knew the galaxy would adapt to their presence just as humans had adapted to the stars. Captain Elias Reese stood at the bridge of the Aegis Eternal, looking out at the endless field of stars. He understood the truth now. Humanity's revelation was not merely a statement of strength, it was the beginning of a new era. One in which humans were no longer to be underestimated. One in which the galaxy would hold its breath every time humanity made a move. And the galaxy had only just begun to understand the true measure of the Titans. The galaxy had changed. In a matter of weeks, what had once been a minor, quietly growing species had become the center of attention for countless civilizations. Humanity's first contact with the Xyrath Dominion and the demonstration of the Aegis Eternal had left an imprint that would not fade quickly. Traders, scientists, diplomats, and spies, all of them carried the same question. Who are these humans and what are they capable of? On board the Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Reese stood at the command deck, watching the vast expanse of stars. The crew moved around him with calm efficiency. No alarms blared. No tension needed to be spoken. They had faced one of the galaxy's strongest fleets, and they had prevailed without chaos, without overreaction. The calm confidence of humanity now radiated across the stars like a quiet pulse. Commander Lyra Holt approached him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Captain, the Council is asking for a report on the current status of the fleet and the colonies. Many systems want to know where humanity stands. Elias nodded. We are strong, prepared, and at peace. That is enough for now. Let the galaxy decide what it will do with that knowledge. The new balance of power, the Xyrath Dominion once brimming with pride, was forced to reconsider its position. Within the council chambers, Leaders debated not only their recent encounter with the humans but also what humanity's presence meant for the rest of the galaxy. Admiral Kurzal, still smarting from the previous encounters, spoke in measured tones. They are not like other species we have faced. Their Titan-class warship, it is only one vessel, and yet it has shown discipline and control unlike anything we have seen. Their restraint is a power in itself. Some counselors urged immediate retaliation, believing that only a show of force could restore the Dominion's reputation. Others argued for caution, recognizing that underestimating humans could be disastrous. Perhaps, one elder suggested, we must reconsider our approach entirely. Humanity has revealed strength without malice. They may yet be the key to stability in this sector. Even the galaxy at large noticed the shift. Species who had ignored humanity now approached cautiously, weighing the risks and rewards of interaction. Alliances were considered, trade agreements proposed, and diplomatic missions planned. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Strength combined with wisdom demanded respect. Humanity's philosophy captain Elias understood this better than anyone. The humans did not seek domination. They had no desire to conquer or destroy. Their power existed for defense, for survival, and for establishing respect. That was the message humanity had sent, not through words alone, but through action. Humanity's philosophy was simple. True strength was measured not by the destruction one could cause, but by the restraint one could exercise. Every decision aboard the Aegis Eternal had been guided by this principle. Every calculated strike, every withheld shot, and every moment of observation had shown the galaxy that humans could be both formidable and merciful. This is why we will succeed, Elias said quietly to Commander Holt. Because we do not need to prove power by destruction. The galaxy recognizes it when it is paired with wisdom. Holt nodded. And now many will seek to learn from us or fear us. Yes, Elias replied. And both are acceptable. As long as humanity is safe, all else will follow. The rise of alliances, some alien species quickly moved to approach humanity as potential allies. Envoys arrived at Earth and at various human-controlled colonies, bringing messages of friendship, trade, and shared defense. Among these were species who had long dominated their regions, now showing caution and respect. Trade hubs flourished with the news. Scientific communities reached out, hoping to collaborate on research and technology. Diplomats studied humanity's actions, noting how restraint and strategic strength could achieve what centuries of conquest often could not. Even the Zirath Dominion, humbled but proud, sent a formal delegation. They did not arrive with weapons fully armed, but with messages seeking understanding. Admiral Kurzal himself traveled aboard the Bloodfang's flagship to meet Captain Elias. The meeting was tense but civil, marked by mutual recognition of skill and discipline. You have changed the galaxy's perception of your species, Kurzal admitted, and you have done so without unnecessary destruction. The galaxy respects strength but rarely mercy. Elias replied simply, strength without purpose is meaningless. Humanity's purpose is survival and respect, not conquest. You may choose how to respond, but you will not mistake weakness for tolerance. The galactic stage across the stars, other civilizations noted these exchanges. Some were inspired, seeking to emulate humanity's principles of controlled strength. Others were cautious, forming secret alliances to counterbalance this new rising power. Intelligence networks were busier than ever, studying human colonies, fleets, and technology. For humanity, however, the focus remained steady. Colonies expanded in organized growth, fleets patrolled strategically important sectors, and new Titan-class warships were readied, but only as instruments of protection. Humanity did not flaunt power unnecessarily. Every action was deliberate, calculated, and measured. The galaxy watched. It held its breath. Every movement of the Aegis Eternal and other Titan-class vessels was observed, analyzed, and interpreted. Humanity had become a symbol of power, of restraint, and of the potential for a civilization to rise without violence. The first diplomacy, when the Zirath delegation met humanity formally, a new era of diplomacy began. Representatives from multiple species also arrived, eager to witness the humans firsthand. The Aegis Eternal served not only as a warship, but as a neutral ground, a symbol of human authority and responsibility. Discussions were long and detailed. Trade agreements, defense treaties, and scientific collaborations were proposed. Humanity listened carefully, weighing each proposal. Their responses were firm but fair. They did not dominate the conversations, nor did they let anyone take advantage. Every step showed the galaxy that humans were reasonable, capable, and decisive. "It is not enough to be strong," Elias reminded his team. "We must be wise in how we use that strength. Otherwise, respect is temporary." The message to the galaxy in the weeks following the formal meetings, humanity broadcast a clear message to every star system that could receive it. Humanity seeks peace. Humanity will not kneel. We do not conquer for power. We protect, we explore, and we expand responsibly. Misjudgment will not be tolerated, but aggression is unnecessary. Join us in building a galaxy where strength is paired with wisdom, or respect us as we stand. The message spread quickly. Across the galaxy, species paused to listen. Some felt relief at the possibility of a powerful ally. Others felt awe at the balance humanity displayed. And a few still felt fear, uncertain of what to expect from a species that had revealed strength so suddenly. No matter the reaction, one truth had become clear. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. "The future begins," Captain Elias watched the stars from the command deck of the Aegis Eternal. He knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's presence was no longer hidden. They had stepped into the spotlight of the galaxy, not as conquerors but as equals. Every Titan-class warship, every human colony, and every human fleet would now be recognized as a force to be reckoned with. But more than that, humanity had demonstrated that strength could be paired with purpose and power with restraint. The galaxy, for its part, was learning a new lesson. Underestimating humanity was no longer an option. Overestimating them might be dangerous. The balance was delicate, and every civilization now held its breath, waiting to see how humans would shape the future. And the humans, in their calm, deliberate way, were ready. They did not boast. They did not threaten. They acted, and in acting they had changed the course of history. The Aegis Eternal drifted through the Orion Verge, its engines quiet, its weapons at rest, and its crew vigilant. Humanity had proven that the galaxy could not ignore them, and that strength without mercy or mercy without strength was incomplete. Captain Elias smiled faintly as he looked at the stars. The galaxy would watch, and the galaxy would wonder. Humanity's time had come, and the age of underestimation was over. The Titans stood ready, humanity stood ready, and the galaxy, for the first time in eons, held its breath.